what's the percentage of people who vote in America? I don't know the percentage, 50–60%?
Less than 50.
Less than 50%. In India, we're a little better. About 60% of the people are voting. So if you're concerned about governance, this is one simple thing, an expression that you have to do every 4 years, we have to do every 5 years. But what you need to understand is, a democratic process is not just about voting. It is not a spectator sport. There are many, many instruments in democracy with which you can participate on a daily basis. There is scope for that. But most citizens of democratic nations have never bothered to educate themselves about how to participate. They'll say, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. So one thing we can do is bring it into the education system itself as to how you can participate in the democratic process, what are the instruments through which you can find expression in a democratic setup is something that needs to happen, which I don't know whether by neglect or by intent, it's not been brought into the education process. But it should be brought in. The young people should know how they can participate. If they don't like something, how they can participate through a democratic process, not that they have to go and burn something or stone something or stop something else, you know. Whenever young people get angry, they're trying to stop something. No. When something is not working well, you should see how to make it work better, rather than trying to stop everything. So these modes are there. But anyway, everything about governance may not change tomorrow morning, but at least every 4 years or 5 years you have an opportunity. But now you may be complaining about the choices that you have. Maybe the choice is not great. Well, that's what is on the menu right now. If you want to get better things on menu, many things have to change, and those things don't change just like that. Now, because I see that your concern is largely India. India, we don't have a bad governance, we just don't have any governance right now. It's just happening. So, because we need to understand India will not happen. India as a nation will not happen because you change a few policies here and there. In India, anything that has to be successful has to become a movement. Unless it becomes a movement that people emotionally attach themselves to, no true change will happen in that country. By simply policy changes, they'll just all remain on the paper, it will not come down and percolate down to the people who matter. So, to build movements, we have done many things. We have started an ecological movement. People never believed this would work. This happened, in the year 1998. Certain UN experts came and they made a prediction, Tamil Nadu by 2025 will be 60% a desert. I don't like predictions, whether they're economic or astrological or whatever. Because when you make a prediction, you are making prediction from the cold facts that you have. You're not taking into consideration what is beating in the human hearts. Because human beings can change things tomorrow morning. That's never taken into consideration into these predicaments, into these predictions that are happening. So, when they made this prediction, I didn't like it and I didn't believe it. So, Tamil Nadu becoming a desert, out of question, because Tamil Nadu or the southern part of India is one place on the planet where there is a history of agriculture for 12,000 years. There are people been farming the same land for 12,000 years. And 12,000 years, a land can nourish us, and in one generation it'll become a desert. I didn't believe it, first of all, and I didn't like it either. But I wanted to check it out, so I just drove around Tamil Nadu just to see firsthand, because, I'm not educated like you. If I have to see something, I have to go and see it. So I drove all over Tamil Nadu and so on. Then I realized what they said is not true, because it's not going till 2025. It's going to happen much faster. Because as I see, 4 perennial rivers have gone completely dry in 15 years' time, and water has dropped. When I came to Coimbatore city first time in Tamil Nadu in '87, the water was at 100–120 feet level, the groundwater. Today it's 1,400 feet. So, I thought, what to do about this? For one simple fact that I noticed was, national aspiration in India is 33% green cover. Tamil Nadu's green cover that day, on that day was 16.5%. So I thought, how to raise it to 33%? It's one simple thing you could do, put back green cover on it, because desertification happens not necessarily because of no rain, because of lack of vegetation. If excess rain happens, it also, the runoff creates the desert. So I just called a bunch of people and told them, I've made a simple calculation. If we plant 114 million trees in 8 to 10 years' time, in 15 to 20 years, we'll have 33% green cover. They said, Sadhguru, do you know what is 114 million? You know, they're asking me, have you figured out how many zeros? Then I asked them, what's your population in Tamil Nadu? They said 62 million. I said, see, if all of us plant one tree today, take care of it for 2 years and plant one more, what's the number? You got it? So can't we plant one tree? Even a beggar on the street can do it. If a beggar plants one tree and nurtures it, he'll have a growing office for himself. So, initially I spoke to people, they wouldn't believe. So I said, okay, let's take this one hill. There's a mountain behind us. It's a rainforest, but this particular hill has been sheared off all trees. There's a furniture factory where the ashram is now. We bought it out at 4 times the market price because I wanted to close down the furniture industry. So this one hill completely off, any big tree, all gone. So I said, let's make this one thing happen. So I don't want to go into the details, it was a unique way of doing it. In about 23 days, with a little over 4,500 volunteers, all I had to do was 2 meals a day I gave them, and we created a song for them to sing through the day. And we planted over 6 million trees on this hill in the form of seeds. There's a particular method in which everybody said, this is black cotton soil, if you plant a seed, it will not come. So I came up with a unique device where 100% sprouting happened, and largely they survived over 90%. And today you will see the hill is green. In the summers it used to turn brown. Today our temperatures are down by 3 to 4 degrees compared to Coimbatore city. It used to be higher than Coimbatore city about 15 years ago. I made a demonstration of this. First 6 years anyway I spent planting trees in people's minds, because that is the hardest terrain to plant. And now in the last 8 years, we have planted over 17 million trees across Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu's green cover officially has gone up by 7.2% according to the government. The Google Maps show it has gone up over 10%. All this, we have not given up our life to do this. It's just one part of our activity, okay? It's just a small activity. We started over 1,200 nurseries across Tamil Nadu. I got people committed that any sapling that dies, within 15 days it must be replaced. So because of this, our survival rate is over 84%. And the sponsors who come with us are very happy because nowhere else it happens at this success rate. This is all because I created an emotional connect for the people. First meeting I had, when I series of meetings in various villages and towns, I called people, ordinary people, who all own 2 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres, these kind of simple farmers. I always call the meetings in hot sun, outside. There's a big tree there, but I won't hold the meeting there, I'll hold the meeting here, in the hot sun. This, what Guru? I said, Guru, at least we can sit there. I said, no, we'll sit here, why? What's wrong with this place? They all sit down like this. I said, I speak to them, and then shall we sit under the tree? Oh, there's a big rope. Then they go sit under the tree. When you sit in hot sun and then enter the tree shade, then you know the difference. Wow, it's such a big experience. For others who've always been driving around in air-conditioned cars, they won't know what's the thing. Walk in hot sun or sit in hot sun for some time, then move under a tree, such a big experience. Then I created this. Just see, are you breathing? Yes. See, what you're exhaling, the tree is inhaling right now. What the tree is exhaling, you're inhaling. Without this relationship, you cannot do. And I set up simple processes for them to feel it, at least psychologically, if not experientially. Once they understood that one part of their breathing equipment is hanging out there, now you don't have to tell them, don't cut it, plant it and all this. Now it's such a big movement. Nobody can stop it, it's just going on, and inspired hundreds of other smaller organizations to come up and do the same thing. So I put out a thing, we created a record planting some 850,000 trees. Nobody is allowed to plant more than 2 trees. You can plant 2 and encourage a friend to plant 1, so 3 per person. Over 225,000 volunteers came out from morning to evening with military precision. From 8 to 5, they planted over 850,000 trees. So this became a Guinness record something. So I just threw it out to every other organization. Somebody should break this record as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, they have not. But they should. If you break it, we will break it tomorrow.
You really need to spread this message as quickly as possible.
Tomorrow morning, we are planting 1,008 olive trees in your area.
Wow. What I'm saying is, I heard a rumor last time when I was in other part of southern India that people are digging even deeper, that pretty soon they'll start tapping from the Great Lakes of America. They'll drill so much that they'll start getting water
from... If they drill straight, they'll go to Mexico, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the key message is we really got to spread this as quickly as possible so that, even the village where I come from, where we used to get water at 60, 70 feet level.
It's all gone.
Yeah, you have to go as much as almost 1,000, 1,200 feet now.
See, the problem is the leadership. This is a serious problem with any democratic government, is their eyes are always in the next election. They're trying to do populistic things. They're not doing sensible things. They're not doing things that need to be done by an administration. They're doing things to win an election again. I feel in a country like India, whatever, whether you elect the divine or the devil, you must suffer it for 10 years. Then people also will vote more responsibly. Because this every 5-year election is taking such a big toll. Nobody is focusing on what needs to be done. Everybody is focusing on how to please everybody so that I win the next election. At least they must have a bandwidth of 4 to 6 years to do some solid work. Last 2 years they can do their political tamasha, Right now in these 5 years, by the time they settle down, 1 year is going. By the time they get their hands onto work, another 2, 3 years are going. By then an election is coming. Things are not happening the way they need to happen. I'm not saying this is the only solution, but unfortunately, for whatever reasons, not blaming anybody, we have not produced leaders who are committed to doing the right thing. We have produced leaders who somehow desperately want to be leaders. This is a great tragedy of democratic process. So, I think the people also, all of us, also need to understand this. Once somebody is elected, we should stop leg pulling. We should give them a free hand to what they have to do. You put somebody on the chair and keep pulling their legs, so they will try to keep doing things which will please a larger number of people who have no vision for the nation, but they have their personal requirements. There are lot of anomalies in this. It's not a simple solution, but it doesn't mean that there's no solution. There is a solution if somebody is determined enough and focused enough.
Do you have a question, madam?
Hi, my name is Nancy. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to listen to your speech. Very inspiring. It opened many perspectives from different levels that I haven't seen before. So 3 things that I remember from the speech earlier. One is you mentioned about when you produce something good for human. That's one. And the other one is, when you do something with love and passion, it's not only you get to, it is also a drive, a motivation for you to come up with something creative, become successful. So this question had to do with motivation. What happened when the passions kind of tamed down with all the trouble, hardship, and other obstacle? What would be your words of wisdom to help the entrepreneur to go past that obstacle point and to go across all these challenges and get to the destination that he or she wants to?
I would like to correct a bit what you said. See, do not try to reduce them into some kind of values or ethics for your life, that you must approach everything with passion. You must love human beings around you. Please don't love anybody, don't have any passion, it's okay. But what I'm saying is, we are trying to replace humanity with so-called human values. If somebody tries to teach human values, what it essentially means is that you are not a human being, okay? You are not a human being, I am trying to give you human values. No, you are a human being, are you? So what needs to happen is to stir up your humanity, not to give you values to make you a human being. You don't need values to make you a human being. You are a human being. It is just that in your various identifications that you take, your humanity is forgotten. Yes? You identify with a nation, you identify with a caste, a creed, a race, a gender, in so many ways. The moment you identify yourself with something, you've forgotten your humanity, and slowly it's almost like it's lost. So one simple thing that you need to do is to remind yourself that you're just a piece of life. Rest is all drama, isn't it? Yes or no? What is the most valuable thing in your life right now? That you're alive. Yes or no?
Yes.
That's right. It better be, you must say yes to this. Because this is a fundamental thing that most human beings have forgotten. They are dying to live. If you die, you cannot live, you know. For life to happen, there are certain fundamentals. Like I was just saying, for these flowers to happen, there are certain fundamentals. If you take care of them, flowers will blossom. For this life to happen, similarly, there are certain fundamentals. If you take care of those things, this will happen. Now the thing is, you planted an apple tree, but your Indian neighbor is expecting a mango out of that tree. Now there's a problem. You can make an apple tree to yield to its fullest, but you don't try to make an apple tree produce a mango because your destination is mango. So, because our expectations are like unrealistic, we are trying to bring unrealistic values. See, love everybody is a horrible thing. It's not an easy thing, it'll destroy you. You try to love everybody and see, it'll just freak you off. Yes or no? If you are joyful, you're very happy right now, whoever comes your way, you love it, isn't it? What does it mean? It just means that if you have managed to create a certain level of pleasantness within you, that pleasantness will go across in every possible way. Your mind will be pleasant, your body will be pleasant, your emotions will be pleasant. Now in this you're naturally inclusive, flexible, generous, all these things are consequences. Now, right now the modern societies have become like this, their goal is fruit. They are not interested in the root. No. Root, not the fruit, you must understand. If you nourish the root, fruit will invariably happen. If you do not nourish the root, fruit, you have to extract it, and even if it comes, you will be miserable, if it doesn't come, you will be miserable. I have to say this with all due regard to all of you. I value success. Success is the sweetest thing in human life. It doesn't matter small things or big things. When you do something, it has to be successful, isn't it? Little things or big things, it doesn't matter. If you hit a ball, you want it to go straight. Yes. If you blow your nose and throw this thing into the bin, you want it to go into the bin. If it falls out, yes or no? Small thing or big thing is not the issue. being successful is extremely important in human life, yes? When it's so important, what is it that makes this happen if you do not look at it? See, if you are on a racetrack, let's say you are on an F1 track, now you go with your beat-up Ford and you try to race on an F1 track, it'll go in 4 different directions. You're just going around in your farm or into your workplace, it's okay. You don't enter an F1 track with a broken car, isn't it? So if you want to go to F1 track, it is not your passion, it is not your dream of that cup that you're going to carry in your hands. It is just that your car is good and you're good. Your focus should be just this, not about winning the damn race. You have the best car and you're the best guy. You may win the race. Still there are other aspects. Still there are other factors. But you may win the race. The possibility is good. So success does not come to you because you desire it, because you work towards a certain level of competence. So, I want to love everybody, you will destroy yourself, believe me. Yes or no? Don't try to love everybody. If you see how to keep this one pleasant, have you noticed? If I meet you when you're very happy, I'm sure you're a wonderful person, no question about it. But if I happen to meet you when you're angry, frustrated, disappointed, whatever, you could be a nasty person, isn't it? So, the pleasantness in your life happens because essentially you have invested in pleasantness within you. Whatever you do, whether you're conscious of it or unconscious of it, whatever you do is just an expression of who you are. You cannot do anything more than that. Yes or no? If right now this is feeling very pleasant, whatever it touches, it does those things in pleasant ways, whether it's mind or emotion or body or whatever, it will express in pleasant ways. So if I'm pleasant to you, you say, oh, how loving he is. If I'm unpleasant to you, you say, how nasty he is, isn't it? So whether I'm loving or not is your experience. My experience is just that I'm feeling wonderful right now. That's my problem. I'm always feeling wonderful. I wish everybody had this problem.
Despite coming from Toronto, right? You just arrived from Toronto this afternoon.
That's not too far away. And I didn't walk anyway. There was a time when people came to California on horseback.
Yeah.
Every time I travel, I think, okay, how did they do it?
Anyone else with any questions? Yeah, can you please come to the microphone? Yes, go ahead.
So,
Turn on the microphone.
so you talked about planting trees, but now we have this problem of education. People do not have access to great teachers in India. How can you create a similar magic to spread education in India?
Education is definitely a serious concern, and as a part of this, in rural India, in particularly rural Tamil Nadu, I always focus on unpopular projects. Everybody is into, higher education because it makes money and instantly you have access to so many things. Nobody is interested in rural education. It's a thankless job. But if you do not give proper education at that level, from the age of 6 to 16, if they don't get a certain level of competence, after that you're not going to do much with them. A few of them will anyway make it. They will make it not because of the teachers, in spite of the teachers they'll make it. They are different. But that's a small percentage. The larger group, if you want to take them, the basic education, the primary education, the quality has to go up. So as a part of this, we envision that we will start one model school in every taluk. There are about 206 taluks in Tamil Nadu, so we thought we'll start 206 schools so that they will not only transmit education, but we want to bring it into the society. What quality education means, involving the parents, involving the society around, make them understand and value quality education. And at least one 35 to 40% of the children who are coming to our schools are first generation going to school. You must see their whole experience, the parental experience of this. So, because this is rural education, essentially the education is designed so that they come out of their economic and social pit in which they are trapped. So they start off with English language and computers at the age of 6. You will see within a year's time, these kids, their parents are working for 100 rupees a day as casual labor somewhere, but these kids speak fluent English. It's a miracle that you're seeing in Tamil Nadu. You should see, it's so fantastic and fulfilling to see this. And that is one level of thing. Then we realized starting our own schools and building infrastructure, doing is taking too much time. So now we have adopted government schools with about 32,000 children right now. We are trying to buffer the… government has built some infrastructure, but they're not able to administer the quality as such. Now, one law they passed a few years ago with a certain good intention. Children go to school at the age of 6, there are pressures already. Why don't they take care of the cattle? Why doesn't the girl cook at home? Why doesn't the boy go to the farm? This is already there, but in spite of that, because it's compulsory, they send them to the school. Suppose they fail in their, let's say, 3rd standard or 4th standard, that's it, that's the end of education. He comes home, goes back to work. So the government devised this. Till 9th standard, nobody fails, everybody goes. So that there are no dropouts. Now they're not dropping out that much. They become 14, 15 years of age, they're in 9th standard, 10th standard examination you may fail. At that time if you check them, 2 plus 2, they do not know what. Okay? Now they have the attitude of the educated, but they have no education. We are producing millions of youth like this. Now they can't go back to the farm, they can't go back to their father's carpentry shop or blacksmith shop or something like this, because one thing is they don't have the body to go back to the farm. Sitting indoors in the classroom, they don't have the strength to… physical strength to go back to the farm, and they don't have the mental attitude also to go back to the farm, because they are wearing denim pants. They cannot go back to the farm. So now we have produced millions of youth who don't know what to do. They have no skills. At least if they worked with their fathers, they would have had some skills. They would have had a livelihood. No skills, no education, just an empty space in front of them. We are preparing the recipe to generate crime and terror. Militancy and crime. We are preparing the necessary recipe because no skills and you are 17 is a dangerous place. Yes? 17 is anyway a dangerous place. If you're focused on something, 17 passes. If you're not focused on anything, 17 doesn't simply pass. It does things to yourself and people around you. So as a part of this, we decided to bring in about 4 to 8 teachers, depending upon how the school is, you make an assessment, and put these 4 to 8 teachers, take all the students who are not doing well and do extra for them, and it's produced phenomenal results. All these people think it's fantastic because we're touching thousands of people, but in my mind and understanding it is not, because it's just a drop in the ocean. Just a drop. It's making difference for people, but it's still not a solution for the nation. It has to happen on a really super large scale. There are 9.6 million children studying in the government schools alone in Tamil Nadu. Plus, private schools add up to another 2.5 to 3 million. But government schools alone, there are 9.6 million children. I keep telling them, the politicians and the local leaders, see these 9.6 million children. If you just educate them, empower them and inspire them, if they are an inspired, educated, capable force, you can take the world with 9.6 million educated people. But if you leave them uneducated, uninspired, broken, they can destroy everything. Both are right there. So one big aspect of the world, I don't want to look at this in terms of national segments because nations won't mean anything after some time. Already with technology, the national borders are almost kind of obliterated. You can fall in love with somebody in Pakistan if you're living in India, on the Facebook. So national borders will slowly recede as time goes by, not thinking in terms of nations. One serious thing that we as a generation need to do is, see right now we're 7.2 billion people. The UN predictions for 2050 say we are going to be 9.6 billion people. If 9.6 billion people happen, we all have to live with 40% less resource than what we're enjoying right now. When I say resource, I'm not talking about oil or gold or whatever. I'm talking about water, air and food. So it doesn't matter what we do, we will leave a bad word for our children and grandchildren for sure. So one of the most serious things that we need to do is to bring down the human population. We have reproduced irresponsibly. At the beginning of 20th century, we were only 1.6 billion people. In a matter of 110 to 150 years, we have become 7.2 billion people. We are nice, but we're too many. We must understand this. We're just too many. We are trying to curtail human aspiration. It's never going to work, believe me. Believe me. Somebody will drive an electric car, but they'll have a Porsche parked in the house, okay? Somebody will do this ecologically. These are all band-aid treatments for a serious cancer, okay? You cannot bring down human aspiration, that's not going to work. But we can bring down human populations if we determine. So this is another most unpopular thing I'm trying to do in India. We're trying to bring in no conception years in the village. This year, no conception, by choice, by volunteering. Even if 50% of them follow, population will come down. Your life expectancy has gone up, so you don't have to be in a rush to produce a child. What you were doing at 14, now you're doing at 25, maybe we can push it to 30, 35. All across the world I'm saying. If you just delay it a little bit, things will happen. And if you do not produce a child till 30, you will think, do I really need it? It just happens in a rush in the beginning. If you pay a little more thought to it, not everybody would want to have children, and it's not necessary. Many of them will understand one more like me is not needed in this planet.
So going back to, I think you should get the microphone. Going back to, the magnitude of the challenges and the problems, and also to go back to some of the discussions that we had in the room, how do we create a distributed leadership versus, the lack of the leadership that exists today, as you were mentioning earlier? So how do we take the approach that you have and create a distributed leadership to help overcome some of these major challenges that the country is facing?
You're talking about a country?
Yes. India as a country.
Okay. See, as I said earlier, in India nothing can change unless you can create a movement. Everything has to be a movement. It will not change just by policy. If people think so, their brains are somewhere else. It's not like Switzerland, you put something on a notice board and it will happen, okay? It doesn't work like that. We must work with the realities in which we exist. People always come to me and complain, Sadhguru, I cannot work with this person, what she did, what he did, all this. I say, see, this is the kind of people we have on this planet. If you cannot work with them, you go to heaven. There are supposed to be some ideal kind of people. You go there and work. If you want to do something here, you've got to work with these people. That's the way it is. Yes. You don't like these people, but you like this world. How is that? So, it's important that we learn to understand that whatever I'm saying is not a complaint. It is more an understanding of a certain situation. This is the way it is. India, we enjoy being chaotic. You have to admit it. It doesn't matter how well you're doing in Silicon Valley. When you go and land in Bangalore, you will like it.
It's the hidden secret of all of us.
Because the organization can be overwhelming after some time. Yes, everything works, we appreciate that, but slowly it gets sterile. So, India is a very organic chaos, and that is the strength of India. You cannot change that. You just have to learn to blow the chaos in the right direction.
Well said.
India doesn't happen because of somebody doing something. It's what the billion people are doing. It's like a beehive. But still, we need a queen bee or a king bee, okay? I'm sorry, I'm not using that in some context. When I say a beehive, when we look at a beehive, it's a complete chaos, but there is a tremendous sense of organization within. You should see how ISA functions. Nobody takes any leadership position, but everything happens in extraordinary timelines. If you look at some of the biggest people who run largest infrastructure companies have come and looked at our infrastructure, the timelines in which we have built the buildings with nobody qualified, okay? All taking my own architectural drawings, which are crude and basic, and building it in extraordinary timelines and very unique kind of buildings. Why this happens is, everybody is on to do their best. A lot of chaos happens. It looks like it's not going to happen, but it'll always happen. This is the way that country functions. So somebody has to grasp this and guide it in a way without standing up there and saying, I'm the leader, come on, let's do it. That's not going to work. In India, a leader should not stand in front of the people. In India, a leader should stand behind the people, only then it'll work. A leader who has this much sense and understanding, at the same time forceful. You need to be forceful, otherwise a point is not going to get across. If you speak meekly, it's not going to go across. It doesn't. I batter them. When I stand up and speak, I make fun of everything in their life, from their gods to their toiletry habits, everything. I make it threadbare in front of them, make fun of them and say this. But all this is fine, but this can be used in a phenomenal way, and we always have. We always have done things successfully with a completely chaotic approach. You do not take away the organic strength that the nation has. Do not try to bring back some sterile sense of discipline, it's not going to work. You can't discipline an Indian, okay? But you can fire him up, he gets fired very easily, more easily than just about anybody. So once you set fire, it's only a question of managing the direction of the fire, isn't it?
Interesting. That's very interesting. Yes?
Sadhguru, you spoke about creating movements, right? How do you create a movement for creating human beings? Because I see a lot of incidents. For example, there was this incident in New Delhi where a family was traveling in a scooter, they met with an accident, and the wife and child were bleeding to death, and nobody really stopped. Normal human beings like us, nobody stopped and helped that child or the lady on the ground. You can teach somebody mathematics, science, you can create better education systems. How do you teach the person to be more human?
So, just by one news report, don't make a judgment of the whole population. You must understand this. The expression of humanity is on many different levels, but you must understand the Indian cities right now. I would say almost 50% of them in the large cities have moved into urban atmospheres only in the last 10–15 years' time. I may not be 100% right on the percentages, but it's somewhere there. So they do not know what it means to live in a city, they're completely confused about it. In the village, there was a completely different kind of order. Let me tell you. People always say, Sadhguru, all this spirituality you're talking, for thousands of years we're talking, what is it doing? Country is poor, this. I said, that's okay. Poverty has happened in the last 250 years. 250 years ago, that was the largest economy on the planet. 34%